Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to all of the witnesses today. And I only have 5 minutes to ask all of you questions, so I'll do my best with the time allotted. I'd like to begin with you, Professor Hulchansky. And I was interested in your comments about Canada ranking near the bottom of the 15 similarly wealthy Western democracies, because we hear a lot from the current government about how we are the best of the G7. And what I kind of take from your comments is we may be the best, but many of the people within our society are actually not doing very well at all. So I know you've done a lot of work on identifying the changes in income and what that is meaning to the racialization of poverty, the suburbanization of poverty. So my question to you is reducing inequality essential to a sustained, strong overall economy?
The answer is yes, and it's been well proven, particularly by people who study health in a very broad way, the health of a society. These 12 other countries like Canada that are equally strong economically but are way more equal have way better outcomes in all kinds of measures for all people in society, not just low-income people. So more equal societies are healthier societies, and are defined in a very broad way in terms of crime and, of course, health, physical health and mental health and so on. So that has been established. We sadly compare ourselves to the United States too often, and they are at the bottom of the list of 15 in almost any OECD measure that we consider an important measure of success. So you're right on that.
So two areas I'd like to drill down a little further on. One is the area of housing. I know in the community I represent in Parkdale High Park, we have a number of people who contact our office regularly with concerns that they're on a waiting list for subsidized housing. I think the waiting list is about 70,000 families now in the city of Toronto, or they just can't make ends meet, that if they pay their rent, they don't have enough money to feed their family for the coming month, and many of these are people who are working full time. So I'd like to ask you. You say there's $253 million annually that the government has committed to spend on affordable housing, and it's not getting spent. Can you possibly speculate as to why that would be?
No. It was announced, and today's Toronto Star has an op-ed by Michael Shapcott which explains that $253 million. People involved cannot even get answers from the senior government officials about that money, why nothing's happening. The provinces, many of them are ready to go, and this was a commitment in last year's budget, so simply doing that will help a lot.
It would be hard for me to explain to my constituents that the money is sitting there, they can't afford to pay their bills, and it's not being spent by the federal government. So clearly we need to get action on that. I'd also like to ask you, I only have 1 minute left, and I'm sorry, I have other questions too, but I'd just like to stay with this on the issue of temporary foreign workers. And employment insurance. Now, I see 19% of the foreign workers are going to Toronto. We already have relatively high unemployment in Toronto. I note that less than 40% of unemployed workers can get employment insurance. This seems like a crazy situation. What do we do in Toronto to get good quality jobs? And I'd like to get to the tourism piece as well, because I think that's part of it. But what's your solution here?
For good quality jobs, we have to lift up the bottom wage. It's been the growth of the service sector over these 20, 30 years. Canadians can afford to pay a bit more for their average goods that they buy. So strengthening our labor laws and lifting that bottom up little by little will make a really big difference.